Did you know that 90% of clothing brands fail because they don't understand one key concept? I'm going to reveal with you how you can avoid that trap and start growing your clothing brand even faster. So I get this question a lot because inside of our program, we have a live chat where you can talk to us, every single person on our team. We're real people. This is a real office. It's not a simulation. But they message all the time like, hey, my paid ads are not working and my whole business is just basically plummeting. This happens a lot because everybody believes, and trust me, I love them too, right? Facebook, Instagram, paid, Google, TikTok. That is the one way and only way that you can grow your actual business. And I will tell you right now that what I tell them, which is that, hey, I hear you, let's address this problem, but also let's look at what's actually happening with your business because you are over-relying on one single media channel. I don't know who said it, whether maybe it's Warren Buffett or Charlie Munger or whomever, but basically don't put all of your eggs into one basket. That being said, a little counterintuitive, I do think you should focus in on like laser focus within your brand, but if you are so dependent on Zucks and Meta to make money for your brand, you're gonna run into a lot of issues because we have holidays, we have supply and demand, we have, different times of the week, if not the year, where people have more money or less money, and macro and micro climates of what makes people purchase online. And so if you're so dependent on one media channel, right? And for example, this is paid. And I'm using paid as an example because everybody kind of relies on that. And there are a group of people who rely on organic, but if you just rely on one, it's gonna be very difficult to actually grow. So let me walk you through more so the 5 areas to kind of keep your business balanced that we have used to grow hundreds, and at this point, probably thousands of clothing brands, and what you should have in place, okay? Because a very balanced business allows you to have some freedom that if something isn't working, you got the other areas to kind of lift each other up. And I've ran into this issue too. I've ran into where like we took on clients where we only did their ads, and it's like, well, if the ads are down, then basically we're in hot water. However, it turns out like the website, that they made changes on the website where the hero image wasn't clickable anymore, or a pop-up kept getting in the way of people, or there was an option on mobile. This happened for like literally 2 days, and we're like, what's going on? We weren't working on the website. They would go to check out and there would be a pop-up that kept hitting them so they couldn't actually purchase. And the people who did want to purchase, they literally went over to desktop and made a purchase that way. But for 2 days we were like, what's going on? Like this ad was killing it. And then all of a sudden we were like, what happened? Like, oh, we added a new pop-up and we wanted it to always come back up if they wanted an option to give us the 10% off. And it's like, or to take the 10% off. And I was like, okay, so on mobile, if you do that, they can't check out anymore. And it's like, because we didn't control every part of the business, it was costing us a lot of money. And they were upset with us because the paid ads weren't working, but truly it was a website issue. Everybody's always blaming everybody. I'm not, not trying to say that. So this is called our Ecom Accelerator process. It's very simple, it's very clean, it's very easy to understand, and whether you're doing your first $1 million month, 10, 20, $30 million a year, or your first $1,000 month, it doesn't matter. These 5 areas must be in place. So number 1, you gotta have a high converting site. And I'll get into the specifics of over-relying on one media channel here in a second. But number 2 is paid and organic. Technically number 2 is called traffic. A good business does paid or organic. A great business, one that doesn't rely on one thing, does both. So many people who, and I'll just try to stop you in your tracks now, so many people rely on the fact that, oh, I don't know how to create content organically, or I don't have any money so I can't do paid. I hear you. Those are just, lack of a better term, there's excuses. You can learn organic and you can figure out a way to spend $10, $20, $30 a day in your business. And maybe you don't start there, but you gotta get there eventually. So organic or paid. Number 3, not relying on one media channel or one channel within the business. This is your profit. Some people call it retention. I think that's also fair, but I do like the word profit. This is your email and SMS. And for the big players out there, there's a website, it's called retention.com. This only makes sense for you if you're getting about 10,000 people to your site per month. I don't even think they'll take you on unless you're doing that. But if you are, retention.com very simply is basically anybody who comes to your site where you don't collect the email address, you can still gather that information and you can still email them. Whole different conversation, but there is a link in the description down below. You can check it out. It's retention.com. If you're getting about 10,000 people to your site already, go check them out. It's extremely powerful. On average, we're getting about a 6x return on it. Each one of these, like if you look at it now, it's like instead of relying on one, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different places that we're relying on in the business. Number 4, customer experience. So this is your shipping, your packaging, customer service, but also it's your live social selling. And I will tell you right now, we have a client right now who is absolutely guilty of this and has been guilty of it for about 4 or 5 years. So reliant on live social selling. Maybe you guys have heard of it, comment sold or video. I'm a big fan of it. I'm not a big fan of it being more important than everything else, right? So let's just say paid and organic account for like 40% of your traffic. Then you got email, retention, SMS, okay, here's like another 15%. And then live social selling, maybe another 30%. And we got another 15% of miscellaneous, which we'll talk about here in a second. Where they're at, this is like 80%. If you're over half on one specific area, you're over leveraged, plain and simple. There's a brand I've been emailing and talking to, and texting as well. Just texted them over the weekend. Amazing brand. They got like 1.5 million on TikTok. They got like 1.2 million on Instagram. Struggling to get like 20K months. Which, don't get me wrong, like I'll take 20K months all day, every day. But we also have brands that have 5,000 followers that do 400K per month. And the reason why? 90% of their traffic is all organic. They're relying on the platform. And as followers become less relevant, which I'll tell you this right now, this is a little side tangent. If you think follower count matters, I will tell you right now it does not. Somebody with millions of followers could come in and create a reel or a TikTok, and then somebody could come in with 0 followers, and the person with 0 followers could beat the person with all the millions of followers. That's the world we are living in today. They call it like the TikTokification. It's an interest graph, no longer a follower graph. Before, it was about amassing followers, getting those people to join your email list, and nurturing that relationship. Now it is not, right? It's attention of interest. Not to go down that rabbit hole here, but it's extremely important to not over leverage yourself into one specific area. Number 5, this is brand and messaging. Brand is just about association. Messaging is your clear perspective on the market. So, for example, that messaging may be that you are an eco-friendly, maybe you are a sustainable brand, maybe you are focused on vegan leather, maybe you're focused on buying American goods only, whatever it may be, right? So you need to have clear message, and you need to have great association with your particular market. So if I was a streetwear brand from Dallas, then being associated with the Mavericks or the Rangers or the Stars would increase my brand. If I was, again, from the Dallas area, maybe it's great that I created a relationship with the Cowboys. Shout out to the Cowboys fans. Sorry, just not having a rough couple of years or decades, so no shade. But anyway, your brand association actually matters. This is, again, kind of that 10 to 15. It's kind of that wonky spot, honestly. That is that 15%, 40% from organic and paid, really kind of divided between the two, maybe more like a 70-30 here, but it's 40% of total traffic. But you gotta have something that is more balanced than just one relying source. What happens too is that people go with just paid, and then they just go Meta, and they just go Facebook and Instagram, or they just choose Instagram. A lot of you guys are choosing like, I'm not doing the placements for Facebook because that's for boomers. It's like, well, there's 3 billion monthly active users, so probably your audience is there. But anyway, you're relying so much on one particular area. Huge mistake. It will cost you money, it will cost you time, and it can potentially cost you your business. So let's get into the Ecom Accelerator framework, and I'll walk you through that. But first, I want to say a quick hey, howdy, and hello. My name's Aaron. I'm one of the co-founders here, and alongside my business partner, Christian, I specialize in the marketing, the strategy, the messaging side of things, and Christian focuses on everything to do with like the website and the branding, Shopify side, if you will. Now, we've served over 250 clothing brand owners, boutiques, private labels, streetwear, just like you over the last 12 months alone. And if you found any value in this video so far, I would appreciate it if you gave us a nice little like and subscribe. We drop new content for you guys every single week. And I'm gonna put this into 2 different categories. If you are more established, you should be doing something like this. And then if you are not established, you'll be doing something like this. Just to help you out with the paid ads, or you're spending way too much on the paid ads, because that's usually the #1 question that I get. How many times should I be posting per day? I'll just say it, look at it this way. If you're making less than about 20K per month, you're over here. If you are making about 20K per month, you're over here. Not established, you should be spending a lot of your time trying to figure out your audience. 2 to 3 reels a day, or 1 to 2 reels and 1 carousel. And this is all just Instagram. I want you to repurpose these for other platforms as well. So the main ones, so Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube Shorts. 1 piece of content that you're gonna create, something like CapCut, great place to do it. The thing to do after that, though, is just repurpose them for these main platforms. Make sure it's contextual to it. What you're going to do on Instagram is going to be different than TikTok, just slight changes and variations for them 2 to 3 times per day. If you are more established, we can go to this point where you're testing 1 to 2 per day and you're still gonna distribute. The reason for this is because you need to stay relevant for what's actually happening in your industry and with your audience, but you also need to make sure that you are creating the best type of content that you can eventually take from this organic play to move over to this paid side. I don't know why people are trying to go and just create ideas from their head and then take that and put those into ads versus testing it organically. Makes no sense. You have a real marketplace here. If it doesn't do well organically, it sure as heck probably isn't gonna do well with paid, for the most part, right? That's why you post on 4 different platforms. If it pops off on one of them, then great. If it pops off on TikTok, then I'm gonna put it in ads for sure. But if it doesn't pop off on any of them, I'm absolutely not gonna spend money on it. It makes no sense. This is the same people. If it doesn't work there, it's not gonna work. The platform doesn't hate you. You're not shadow banned. I get that a lot. You're not shadow banned. The content's just not good. I say that as nicely as possible. Also, one other thing to make sure that you do, right? 3 to 7 stories. Specifically, if you're like on Snapchat, you could be these stories on Snapchat, but Meta, so Facebook, Instagram stories per day. Same thing goes over here. You just got to be doing stories. If the brand is relevant at all, it's doing stories. If there's no stories on there, I'm just like, oh, they're not active. Who cares about the followers, whatever. And then also, side note, if it's possible for you, get that blue check over here. It's like 10, 20 bucks or something like that per month. It's absolutely worth it. It doesn't give you more reach. It gives you a little bit more validity, gives you a little bit more trust. That's absolutely needed. It's also gonna help with the brand piece. People look at the blue check mark as trust, and you'll make more purchases from that. So, but don't do it until you actually are making a little bit of money. Doesn't make sense to do it too soon for it. I don't want you to spend 20 bucks a month and you're not making 20 bucks a month. Doesn't make sense. At this point, it's rare that I find someone, even if they have been around for a while, telling a true story and not ignoring their brand messaging. I hear excuses like, I'm not the brand, or I don't want to be on camera. I don't think anyone particularly loves being on camera, right? I've never met somebody who's like, oh, let's do this. Maybe an actor or something, but nope, not a business owner. But if you ignore neglecting your brand story and your connection to that audience, honestly, one of the biggest driving factors as to why someone would buy from you. So it's gonna be difficult for you to be successful and to kind of hike up that mountain if you can't make it possible. One of the biggest mistakes, or this is mistake number 2, ignoring your brand messaging or your connection to your actual audience. Okay, it's why I said live social selling is gonna be big. You're hearing it here now first, right? Well, and I've been saying this for 5 years, but like live social selling, it's why it works so well, because you can build connection, you can build a relationship, you can figure out and tell your story. It's almost impossible to mess up your brand story because you just are being yourself on camera. Now I'm gonna share with you the questions to ask yourself to make this easier for you to figure out your brand story and the connection in the same way we do with our members and our clients. But first, hold up just 1 second. I wanna say that if you are a clothing brand owner and wanna jump into the specifics of your brand and how to grow it profitably online, you can schedule a free 45-minute strategy session by checking out the link in the description down below. It doesn't matter if you're a streetwear brand, whether you're a boutique, whether you're private label. If you sell apparel online, we can help. Or if nothing else, we will point you in the right direction. Make sure you do check out the link in the description down below, and back to the video. So what we're gonna go through is called a brand script. This is a variation of Story Brand. If you have ever heard of Donald Miller, if you have not, go read the book Story Brand. That's very, very helpful. What's the mission behind the brand? What is this? The very first thing that they start with is, who is the actual character? Who is your hero, right? Which is your actual customer. And just so you guys know, I've readjusted this to be specifically for apparel. So if you want this, just comment the word brand down below and I will send you this document to kind of fill out for yourself. But it's like, who is your actual hero? Your customer. What's the target audience? You need to know who your audience is. Individuals who want stylish, high quality clothing that reflects their personality or values. Again, still vague, but gets us in a better spot. What do they want? They want unique, high quality clothing that helps them stand out. Maybe they're focused on sustainability or individuality or humor or whatever. So you need to know this piece, right? It's very important. What is the problem? Nobody buys anything unless there's an actual problem, and I get into this conversation a lot. People are like, clothes, what problem do they solve? Well, I mean, they keep us warm. We got a clothing brand owner, shout out to him. I don't know if he wants me to do it or not, but he has a hoodie that's 500 GSM, 550 GSM maybe, and it's basically a heavy sweater, but it also could help people with anxiety or stress just feel like a nice weighted blanket, and that's a problem that he is solving. He's like in another country, I think like Finland maybe, and it's cold there, so he's helping people stay warm. That's a problem. What's the external problem? It's hard to find clothing that that's both unique and well made. Internal problem, frustrated because mass market clothing doesn't feel personal to them. Maybe they want to look great, but it doesn't align with their personality. Maybe it doesn't have loud colors. Maybe it's too subtle. Maybe it's too basic. Maybe you'll never buy from the basics brands. Well, is there a philosophical problem? Everyone deserves to wear clothes that make them feel confident and express who they are. What does that mean for you and your brand? Then they made a guide. Don't worry, you are the guide, okay? So you're gonna meet them with empathy and authority. You could go either route. We understand how hard it is to find clothes that fit well, look great, match your vibe, if you will. Authority, our team has years of experience in crafting high quality apparel, right? Or we use premium fabrics. We do something that's more eco-friendly. We do something that's more sustainable. You wanna fill these out for your brand. And if you haven't done anything like this, it's probably why, and it's honestly one of the biggest mistakes of why people are not gonna grow in 2025, because you cannot just set up an ad and say, look, here's a cool flat lay of my black t-shirt, buy it, and obviously you should just purchase multiple of them and make me a millionaire. That's not really what's gonna happen anymore. If you've been around since 2020, you could have done that. And you could have done it until about 2022, late 2022. But in 23, you got a reality check. And then 2024, you got an even bigger reality check. And maybe you're on a downswing and trying to figure out how 2025 is gonna be different. This is the different. Who gives them a plan? What are the plans? So explore their collections, place the order with confidence. Is there trust? Go back to the blue check mark over here. Is there trust ahead of time? Are you creating stories? Are you creating content? All of those things build like trust. Are you creating a brand that associates you with the right things? Rock your new look or change your look and make you feel amazing. How can you showcase that? Somebody who's sad, right? Us versus them. Somebody who's sad and now somebody who's happy. Maybe you're going after like an inner city kid who didn't have money, who now just wants to feel confident. So you have a low price item with high quality materials and you show him being sad or upset or depressed, and then now he's confident, head, shoulders out and just feeling confident so he can conquer the day. You got to be able to tell and showcase that story. Next one, call to action. Very simple, direct call to action, right? I do shop now, browse the collection. We could go down a whole rabbit hole for this, but it's very, I would say, self-explanatory for the call to action. But this is a brand script. This is a general one. I have one that is more of a plug and play that you can use for your brand, prompts you with different questions that will help you, and honestly will help you figure out why your brand isn't resonating with your audience, which is kind of a little segue to the next thing. But you've got to reflect on your identity. You got to be consistent throughout your brand with your logos, your fonts, your packaging, social media, your voice, even the email copy, all the way back over to here, right? With this email copy, all of that plays a factor into this over here and to your brand identity. It's a huge mistake that people make. It is not about just buying actual clothes. I honestly try to keep my own personal and subjective opinion out of the mix when talking with brand owners, because I need to know what they are selling and who they are selling to. And it's not my job to buy their product, which sometimes I do. I mean, a lot of times I do. I love to support our brand owners, but sometimes it's not for me, right? I don't wear some brands' clothes, and that's completely fine, but I gotta keep my own subjective opinion out, especially if I'm not their target audience. But I'm starting to spend more time giving the actual feedback here, because I honestly see way too many boutique owners buying from brands they think are cool, but they would never buy for themselves. We had a brand owner, it was a aunt and daughter. They're from Kansas City, shout out to them, a cool brand, but they bought what everybody did, what everybody else did, but they didn't like it. They never wore their own clothes. Maybe 10% of the time it's like, well, guys, why are you doing that? Like, well, we're buying for our audience. It's like, your audience will find you if you buy the clothes that you buy. So you're telling me you don't like the clothes? It's gonna be hard to do any kind of like live social selling if you don't believe in the product. It's gonna be hard to sell something you don't believe in. It's the same thing for here, right? If I didn't think we could actually help clothing brand owners, I'd just be sitting up here like, yeah, please watch our YouTube video and hopefully figure it out. Like, there's no authority, there's no enthusiasm, and people can tell when something is real or not real, plain and just say. So you've got to like the actual thing. Boutique owners, big mistake there. Streetwear brand or brand owners who think putting their logo on a t-shirt is calling it a brand. Just because you come up with a cool name, putting your logo on here and heat pressing it or direct to film or direct to garment, however you want to make it look cool, it means nothing if you don't know how to do the brand script, or you don't follow any of these things over here, or you do any of the stuff over here. Big, big mistake. So the biggest mistake I see a lot of people make is that they do not figure out if they have a product market fit. So these other two mistakes will help you, right? You need an actual process for your marketing, talking about over here. You need to know who your audience actually is, And then you got to create a product that your market actually wants. Pretty straightforward, right? So let's walk through exactly how to define a customer. All right, so to define a customer, we basically take them, very similar to the brand script, who is the actual avatar. There's a document right here that goes very, very specifically into the depths of who your audience actually is and asks the questions that you need to. So we believe that there is a problem, there is you as the solution, and then there is life like afterwards, okay? Very similar to the brand script, but this struggling avatar document goes through and answers on kind of like the core values, your identities, your experience, your knowing, your past struggles. You have this product validation document. So you take your struggling avatar, you take your brand script, and those two kind of mesh together, figuring out who your audience is. So you define who your audience actually is. Turns out, give you the short answer here, it's actually you, but you know who you're actually going after. It's very, very clear that this is who you are and who you're trying to solve a problem for. But then you go and validate the product. So what is your product? And then what is the competitor's product? And what are you doing going to market? And you should answer these questions before you actually go to market and spend money on them. Because if you can't answer these questions, then it honestly doesn't matter. You should not be creating something. It's like, well, what makes you different than the person over here? It's like, well, this is Tommy Hilfiger and this is my logo. And it's like, okay, well, did the market ask for that? No, but I want to build it. Okay, well, let's go back to the struggling avatar. What problem are you solving? Let's go back to the brand script. What messaging, what clear, what things are you doing to help? If you can't answer those, then don't launch that product. Plain and simple, right? Don't launch that problem. That's the hard part. Business is not easy, but you go through this document. If you want this struggling avatar document, it comes with 3 main documents, and I have a video that walks through exactly how to use them, how to step up, right? Like I said, like the struggling avatar, unique solution, what life is like afterwards. If you want that, you can comment the word avatar down below. You can check that out. It'll be very helpful for you. Like I said, you've got to spend time on here, right? This video is about all of the mistakes to make, so please do that. And then the next thing I would do is launch a pre-launch. If we can't sell anything before we actually have products in hand, it doesn't matter. And honestly, you would have saved a ton of time and a ton of money. And if you can't sell it ahead of time, then there isn't any market, right? So if you create this content like this, like I'm mentioning, if you go through and build out your website, if you go through and figure out who your audience actually is, I promise you can do pre-selling. And if you can't, then it is the product market fit. And that is a huge mistake. I don't want you to waste money on ads. I don't want you to waste money on your website. I don't want you to waste money on all these different things if you have no product to actually sell. If you do these things correctly, guess what? You just set yourself up for success for the brand moving forward. And if you are already in business and have had some success, it's time to go back to the basics here and do this. I don't care if you're doing 7 figures a year or 8 figures a year, you still can define your audience. And I get this question a lot, and I will summarize very quickly with this, which is the brands that are doing 8 figures a year tell me that they don't know who their audience is and want to go deeper. The brands who are 5 figures per year tell me, oh, no, I got it. I'm going to do lookalike interest stacks on Meta, and it will find my audience, and they have no clue who their audience is. The naiveness of the 5-figure brand versus compared to the humble 8-figure brand is the reason that there is a gap between the two of them. You've got to understand who your audience is. Okay, so now you know the mistakes to avoid. It's time to take action. Now go watch this video right here next on how to grow your brand as fast as humanly possible. Go watch that video right here next. I will see you next time. P.S. Please make sure you subscribe.